I'm Miss Krystle, also known as the Redhead Attorney. I went to law school because I wanted to learn how to protect myself in my music career. I started my law firm because as a record label owner and attorney today, I know what it takes to be successful in this business. You have to be willing to take control of your career, and you have to be willing to do everything yourself, at least in the beginning. The two main rules I teach in my book for independent artists, as well as my record label online course, are number one, you always have to be your own biggest cheerleader, and be willing to take a chance on yourself. And number two, you have to learn to stay legally protected every step of the way during your career. When you take control of your career, you take control of your future. Hi, I'm Miss Krystle, aka the Redhead Attorney, and my law firm helps entertainers and content creators avoid falling off cliffs to their inevitable dooms via bad contracts and snaky business partners. I've always wanted to be a rock star. At age 4, I learned classical piano. At 10, I added cello and also started modeling. At 13, I started writing my own songs. At 16, I started college and also started competing in Miss America pageants to help pay for school tuition. I paid my way through college and with the help of scholarships was able to get out of school loan and debt free. I then became recording artist Miss Krystle and wrote as well as produced my first album, which then led to working with Grammy Award winning producers, playing huge shows and signing music deals. I always wanted to know how to protect myself legally, so I decided to go to law school. From there, I launched my entertainment law firm and started a record label. In order to share everything I've learned, I wrote a book, rated 5 stars on Amazon, called How to Keep Your Dukes Up in the Music Business, and also launched an online course teaching record label owners everything they need to know about running a successful record label. There are 3 rules I attribute my success to. Number 1, be resilient. Regardless of what the world throws at you, always get back up and just keep going. Number 2, embrace your fear. Never let fear hold you back, because if you never take that chance on yourself, it will be the biggest regret of your life. Number 3, be patient. Anything great takes time, and a lot of it. Create a legit career the right way and always stay legally protected. That's all for now, and don't forget to come say hi on social media. Welcome back to another episode of the Miss Krystle Podcast. I'm top music attorney Miss Krystle. I'm excited to have you guys here. So I'm pretty ecstatic to have found out that you guys kind of sold me out on Amazon, which is amazing. So my book, How to Keep Your Dukes Up in the Music Business, I have a copy right here, which is for independent artists, music producers, singers, songwriters, and basically anyone who just wants to be an entrepreneur in the music business space. I wrote this book for you. So the reviews on Amazon, you guys have been super, super nice. I appreciate you. But yeah, we are officially sold out of the physical copies. Now, you can get digital download versions, right? So you can get a PDF version directly to your phone, to your computer. But I want to do a special discounted kind of Black Friday thing this Friday. So we're going to do a 50% off Black Friday sale. So if you haven't gotten a copy of the book yet, hold tight. Wait for that sale so you can get the 50% off. So that means the book will only be $15. If you can't wait for any reason, you can still go to topmusicattorney.com and get a copy right now. But on Friday, we will have that sale, which I'm super excited about. Thank you for anyone who has already purchased the book. I appreciate when you guys send me an email after you've read the book and you'll give me some feedback and your thoughts, which is always good because guess what? I'm going to probably do another edition of the book. Things have changed. I want to add stuff, probably give away more contracts. And that's the biggest thing. There are 334 pages, I believe, in this book. A lot of information. And it's my whole A to Z guide on being an artist myself. What does it take to be successful in this industry? How do you get your money? How to not lose money or get screwed over? So I talk about the legal stuff, but then I'm also giving you free contracts. And that's probably the highest value portion of this book because, the bottom line is that if you hired my law firm, if you hired other law firms to get these contracts, it would be thousands of dollars, and they're included for free as part of the book. So make sure you check back for that Black Friday sale. So last week I was telling you guys about my water filter Berkey fiasco, and I kind of went on a little rant and just kind of explaining my frustration with customer service, right? And so I went through the whole diatribe. If you want to check it out, you can watch that from last week, but I was pretty upset. And my thing is just at some points you need to just pick your battles and whatever, but I felt, maybe just kind of sharing my thoughts about it would be cathartic for me. It was to a degree, but I have an update. So after I went on my little tirade, and I think Berkey became aware of the fact that I do have somewhat of an audience, and they didn't really want the blowback of, me sharing the story, that kind of thing. They decided to replace my water filters. Now, again, like I said last week, going to war over $60 water filters, not so much about the money, more so about, black mold and sludge that you're drinking and the concern about that, and not nice to get blamed when it really wasn't my fault. I do appreciate the replacement filters, so there's that. And I thought maybe I would just give you guys the update. So what do you think about my glasses? Hi in the comments. So I told you guys about my glasses a few weeks ago, and here's the backstory. I was starting to get these really bad dizzy spells, and I was seeing vertigo, right? So the room is spinning and, having some just health things that just came out of nowhere. And as part of me going down the rabbit hole to figure out what was going on, I went to see an eye specialist. I go, is it something with my eyeballs? What's going on? Are my eyes giving out? Do I need to have a surgery done? And of course the guy's like, no, you basically have 20/20 vision. I guess my left eye is a little more lazy than my right eye. And he goes, I don't really want to give you a prescription, but I want to give you something really minor. So they're lifestyle glasses. And he goes, so your lifestyle glasses are anti-glare, no blue light, filtration, charging me $300. And, at that time I was just kind of it can't hurt. I think that's just outrageous because, why would I spend $300 on glasses for myself? But I did. So here we are. And then, I was having some trouble with the very minor prescription that they had put in it. So we adjusted that. And so here we are. I don't really wear glasses very often, but I'm trying. I did 8 hours of work today, not wearing them, but I'm still staring at screens. So why not? So that's my glasses story. Now, we did a sweep, and you guys are my community. I love you. I want to support you. And so I always say, ask your questions. And I know some of you are here with your questions today. You like the glasses. Thank you very much. So you're here today because you have some questions that you want to get answered. So I'm going to go through our community questions segment, and I just picked out a couple for today, but you guys are welcome to ask some questions as we are going through this. Then I'm going to go into my artist segment. Now, this is really artist / producer / anyone in the music business. And we're focusing on the best health practices and the top 3. Really, I'm just going to break it down to 3 and say the best 3 top health practices for anyone in the music business. Because obviously this goes back to, I've been dealing with some stuff. I've been on this kind of journey that started maybe, a decade ago, to be honest, but we're at a new point and catalyst, and, without going into a whole backstory, because I love researching, and I figured, I'm basically my own doctor. And so after like 10,000 hours of research, I have a whole lot of information that, hopefully helps me, but maybe it helps you as well, and just some food for thought stuff. And then finally, we're going to get into our news segment, and we're going to bring in that ORCO. I know you guys have seen we've been covering Travis Scott, Astroworld fiasco, the lawsuits that are rolling in from that. And so if you haven't seen some of our prior videos just yet, make sure you go check those out. We covered not only one of the actual complaints, so meaning I showed you the actual complaint, so you know what it looks like. We went through it, kind of discussed what's going to be happening, talked about the parties, who's getting sued. There was like 15 defendants. So it's not just Travis Scott, it's Live Nation and all its entities. It's the actual, sports convention, right? The venue that this festival was at. So if you missed that, be sure to check it out. And then we had a separate video just talking about everything that's happened. So we're going to discuss Travis Scott updates. There's been so much happening. But we're also going to get into updates about Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion. And we covered this end of last year. And we'll kind of get into that. But there are updates in that case, which is pretty interesting. And then finally, I think we got one or two more stories for you guys. So we are going to get into all of that. All right, so first and foremost, in our community questions segment, on the video, on this channel, Top Music Attorney, there was a question in regards to split sheets, okay, and the video was 5 worst mistakes that artists make. So the question having to do with split sheets, this is pretty common, and I get this question from clients or people just kind of calling my law offices, and they'll be asking, well, with split sheets, there's a general understanding a split sheet is basically usually one page or a couple pages, and it defines the song, who's getting what split. And so there will be a section for like ownership. There might be a section for royalties. And so there'll be a few, things that you just kind of write out. And this is most commonly what artists and producers use because it's quick, it's easy. And so they'll just kind of go to the split sheet and, they treat it like the end all be all contract. And typically everyone signs and they say, yes, we agree to the split of, earnings and whatever other terms are actually in that split sheet. But the question was, so like, where do I find it? And, what I'll tell artists is I go, if you did a Google search, you could find a ton of different examples of split sheets. You could quite frankly just make one up in a Word document, but just do a Google search and you can see a whole lot of examples and you'll see they're pretty simple. The benefit of having a split sheet is that you at least have something that you guys had, in writing, that everyone looked at and said, this is kind of what we're agreeing to, cool. My only issue with split sheets is that it doesn't give you the whole story, right? So, if you came to me and said, what do I need? I would say you need a collaboration agreement. A collaboration agreement says who's getting what splits, but then it talks about all the other stuff you're, usually miss out on. It's who's gonna, collect all the money? Who's gonna pay the other songwriters or the other performers? Who's gonna have authorization to put the music into TV and film or to sell it? So there's all these other things that you have to discuss and actually have in a signed writing. So that's why I say do a collaboration agreement. And then, I specifically have one in the book as well. That's why, if you want to hire a law office to draft it for you, amazing. You'll pay like $700. But that's also why I have all the contracts in this. On Friday, you'll pay $15 and get the book and then get all the contracts. But that collaboration agreement is the better version of a split sheet. So make sure you have something that's a little bit more robust than just a split sheet. But, a split sheet's still better than nothing. Don't ever have nothing. Have at least something that just represents your guys' discussion, your deal points, and your best bet is going to do that to do that collaboration agreement. All right, so next question. This one was off of the video, how to post cover songs legally. I think I need to do a follow-up video to that. It's still one of our most popular videos, and you guys have a lot of questions about cover songs. I get it. And the question was having to do with, can I post my video online if I have a mechanical license, right? So basically, like, can I upload it to YouTube? And the answer is, via that video, we go through, we get the mechanical license so that legally we have the right to reproduce and make our own version of the song. And then we can put it on DSPs, right? Digital service providers, digital downloads, we're good to go. But what I point out in that video is it doesn't cover sync use, which is you're syncing the song to video. If you sync the song to video and you do a music video, you do a little visual of you singing the song in your studio, that now is a sync license that's needed. Mechanical license don't cover that. So then the question was, like, basically, what do I do? Like, should I just upload the video if it's not covered? What do I do? So from the legal standpoint, and again, I'm not anybody's attorney. We have that standard disclaimer on all of my videos, but what offer to my artists is I say, legally, you're not supposed to, without a sync license, without actually getting in touch with the owners of the song and getting permission to sync the song to a visual. However, there is a loophole on YouTube. And YouTube is basically not, putting strikes on people's videos, and labels are leaving alone some catalog because they'll just take money from it. So if the artist, if you decide that you want to get the mechanical license, you don't end up getting a sync license and you just upload it to YouTube, understand that there is technically some risk in doing that because it is not technically in compliance with copyright law, but YouTube doesn't want to kill you guys. And the record labels want to make money off of your videos. If you do a good cover and it gets a ton of new traffic and ears hearing someone else's song, it's going to get them to go listen to the original. So, it ends up being kind of beneficial for the labels. And so the labels just go and they place ads and they monetize. They monetize on your video. So that's kind of the workaround that YouTube has provided. And so what I kind of say is if you are going to do a cover, do a search on YouTube and see, whose videos are still up as just like an initial thing, because, it's not a global rule, right? Just because YouTube and the record labels are working together and so they're not going to, pull down your videos or give you copyright strikes, which all could happen. I would just say at least go check and see if anyone else has been uploading cover songs, doing the song that you want to cover. And, and then what you'll see is that as you've uploaded it into your account, YouTube will automatically send you an email and say, hey, there's copyrighted material in this. We're not going to do anything. And then it'll give you some more information. So that's the workaround. I can't speak to any other platform if you are using any other video platform to distribute your video on, but kind of keep some of those things in mind. All right, so now let's jump in real quick. Hi. See you guys in the comments. Always nice. I got my throat coat tea here because we keep doing these live streams at the end of the day and I'm like losing my voice when we do them, and that's not going to happen today, right? All right. How's that? All right, we're going to get into the next segment. So this is best health practices for artists, producers, anyone in the music business. Now I'm going to break this down to basically 3 categories for you guys. This first one is in the realm of best health practices, stuff that speeds you up, slows you down. So specifically, we're talking about things like caffeine, we're talking about energy drinks, and there's a whole lot of other stuff that you can use to speed yourself up. We won't get into that, but you know what I'm talking about. Anything that you are doing to get a competitive edge on someone else feels good in the moment. And trust me, you're talking to someone who, I started college at 16, I went to law school, I'm trying to do all this stuff and be really busy. You better believe I was going crazy on caffeine and energy drinks. And I just, realized pretty quickly that always catches up to you. And it slows you down ultimately because you always have to pay for those decisions, right? So we could even use this as a global rule when it comes to just eating crappy food, not sleeping day after day after day, you're staying up on TikTok too long, you're watching too much Netflix, you're watching too many Top Music Attorney videos, you're not getting your rest. But when it comes to kind of uppers, as we'll call them, those just kind of wreak havoc. And I want you to understand that although it kind of gives you that extra competitive edge in the moment, you're not doing yourself a service because you're going to pay for it. You're going to crash. And when that crash comes, you're gonna sleep. You might sleep for a whole day. You might just end up being kind of run down. And I'll tell you, for a lot of you who are watching and just generally, how do you feel? I think that a lot of people run themselves into the ground. And I'm definitely an advocate for keeping a really, really mindful schedule. I don't want to say like an intense schedule and you're going 18 hours, 20 hours a day, because obviously that catches up with you too. That's my personality type. I want to utilize every moment that I'm awake. But you have to just kind of look at your patterns and look at when are the times that you're down? When are the times that you're not being productive or you're not feeling motivated? And I will challenge you to try to connect it with basically how you've been eating and what are the things that you're doing to kind of push yourself to that next level when you are feeling too tired and your body's telling you no, 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 but then you do an energy drink and you go to the gym and you put a lot of stress on your body and specifically your adrenals. And, people don't understand that, when it comes to like adrenal fatigue, right? When you kind of abuse your body, so you're pumping adrenaline, right? More caffeine, more adrenaline, go, go, go. And then, we're always just constantly stressed out. And that causes more adrenaline to be released in our bodies. That you can have different stages of adrenal fatigue. And for some people, you might just kind of feel like shit. And so you wake up and you don't have the same energy that you once had. And you're like, oh, it's just because I'm getting older. Must be because I'm 3 years older than I was, right? But I'm just challenging you guys to think about the impact that speeding up has. And, and just to try to understand that it's just about a very precise balance. I'm 100% into what's called biohacking. I love trying to understand, as an artist, as a producer, as a business owner, how do we get ourselves so that we are at our most efficient? So we feel our best, we're killing the game, we have clarity of thought, we're going and going and going. This is something that I've been really interested in for the better part of the last decade. And so you get an immediate hit when it comes to caffeine and energy drinks, but sometimes that can bottom you out. And especially like as a singer, I can say that, caffeine on performance days when I'm trying to record, it's night and day difference. Because then my vocal cords are strained. They're stressed. They actually get thin. And it goes, to rappers as well. So in that number one category of stuff that speeds you up, slows you down, your tip and takeaway is having a discipline to at least moderate that stuff, right? So either you take it out completely, right? And you challenge your body to try to level out normally. That's really hard for most of us. Or you at least try to take it out some of the times. And some of the best practices might be, every other day you're having caffeine, or you only have caffeine on the weekends. But, I swear, the first time that I really tried going off of caffeine, right? So completely went cold turkey, wanted to see if I could adjust some things. I wasn't feeling great. It's like the worst thing ever. I swear, zero motivation, had a hard time functioning in general. But that was a sign to me that things weren't working properly. You're supposed to wake up and feel good. You're supposed to have clarity of thought. You're supposed to feel okay all by yourself. So if you are overstimulating just to get yourself to feel normal, that's a problem. So that's number one. Number two, in best health practices for artists, producers, and everyone in the music business, your taste buds are lying to you. Now, this might be like a ridiculous analogy, but it just came to mind. So I let you guys know last week, I have a cat, right? We talked about, the cat tree, and he loves his cat tree. Well, we have been feeding Gizmo cat treats, and we stopped feeding him the cat treats because he broke into the cat treat package, right, when we were in the studio, and he ate the entire thing. Okay, so he just went to town. And of course, he was just so lethargic, and like, you didn't see him. He was comatose on the couch for like, a day or two. He had a great time. But the point was that, he ate something because it made him feel a certain way and he loved it. So he consumed as much of it as he could until he got into trouble. Now with us, obviously, it's the same kind of thing. We eat things that taste good. It gives us an endorphin high, right? If it's sugary, if it's caffeinated, but there's an immediate pleasure response that happens. And most of those things that taste so good, usually start to bend on the scale of not being really healthy for you. And stuff that slows you down. And even if it's kind of in moderation, as we like to, say commonly, it still builds up over time. And so, I just kind of go by, if you are trying to be the most efficient as possible, if you're an artist and you're trying to come out with 10 new songs a week, and you're trying to set a new standard for yourself because you got that day job, you have all this other stuff that you need to do, but you need to get to that next level to be able to push yourself and not just crash and then lose 2 days of productivity. You have to pay attention to what you're eating and not just be like, oh, it just tastes good, so that's why I eat it. Sorry, guys, we got to grow up at some point. And you need to just remember that, you're not just a slave to your taste buds. You have to be mindful and be like, I'm a machine. I'm literally trying to biohack myself so I can be the best version of myself, and that takes time and a discipline. And we don't have to be perfect. No one has to be perfect. I'm not. But you need to basically, find that balance between making a decision of what you're going to eat, what are you going to drink, what are you going to do, how are you going to sleep, if you're going to sleep, and be like, how is this going to serve me in the long run? And that's what really highly successful people do. They're disciplined enough to kind of sacrifice in the short term, right? Have a little less salt, have a little less sugar, have more vegetables, have more fruit, maybe go for that walk, just to do something, because they know that in the long term, it's going to serve them better. And I've seen that with myself, right? Running a law firm, running a record label, everything that I do, early on, I just was, going for it. And so it was anything that would keep me going, caffeine, like literally, it didn't matter. All that mattered was productivity. But I've now found that in order to have that productivity, you got to be disciplined and make those sacrifices in the short term. And that is really going to be the difference between you and a lot of people who fail because it gets too hard. They can't have that stamina. So that's number 2 on our best health practices for artists, producers, and everyone in between. Finally, going into the last section, find the right diet for you. Okay, I have tried like every diet on the planet, and I know that a lot of people are similar to me. And there's all kinds of trendy things and fatty things. I think the last real trend that kind of came on in the last couple of years was carnivore, right? So it was like 100% meat. No bread, no fruits, no vegetables, only meat. And then, veganism and vegetarianism has become, more mainstream. And it was trendy for a while. It's becoming more trendy. But there's other things that you need to think about. And I'll just kind of, something that you guys can maybe consider is think about the fact that you might have allergies and not know it. So there's all kinds of you can go get a food testing allergy kit thing done, and to figure out, if you're really not feeling great, it might just be as simple as, you can't have gluten, or you love grapes, but actually you shouldn't be having grapes. And most of us don't know this. Look at your allergies. There's even blood type diets that you can go on. And I kind of learned about this because with my particular blood type, there's these very specific, this is what they suggest that you eat if you're a certain blood type. I've never heard that before. Interesting. I'm definitely an advocate for trying, one of everything and seeing what works for you. But going back to even the carnivore diet, the vegan diet, these are elimination diets. And I talk about it. I have this whole section in the book, and it's Chapter 17, the pillar for everything else, health and wellness. So in this, I talk about, for me, mastering my body, and when I decided to go vegan, and for me, it was just amazing because it's an elimination diet. You take out all the crap. And that's even for carnivore. The reason why a lot of people will feel better going even on the carnivore diet is because they're taking out all the crap, all the, synthetic foods and the processed foods and the sugars and the salts, and they're basically allowing their bodies an opportunity to heal and to recover. And that's why, for me, that's why veganism was so incredibly helpful. So going back to find the right diet for you, this goes back to your productivity. I will talk about and have talked about how do we get ourselves to be more efficient, to be badasses that can't be stopped by anyone. Well, that's all in you. And it starts with your health. And so if you aren't kind of where you need to be right now, maybe there's just kind of little tweaks you can make. No one's at perfect health. Everyone's deficient in something right now. And so, for us, we get stuck into patterns and we stop eating, a variety of foods. We start eating the same 3 meals every day, especially for us who are, kind of on these consistent routines. But if you challenge yourself to try to switch something up and get interested in what makes you the most powerful, best version of yourself, that biohacking, I think you're going to be really happy with what you start finding out. Because when you start tweaking it, you get better, you get faster, you're more creative, you can come out with songs. And I know for me, that's kind of this ongoing thing. So that's why I wanted to talk about. These were my 3 kind of best health practices. And I hope you guys have some good takeaways from this. Like I said, there's a section in the book if you want to get it. Don't forget to come back. We'll have that sale on Friday. 50% off. There we go. All right, so let's jump into our business segment, talking about business news, entertainment industry. Let's bring in that ORCO.
Hello. How's it going?
Hello, that ORCO. How you doing?
How you doing?
Did you hear my whole speech on health? I couldn't help myself.
I've heard it. I heard it. I'm familiar. I'm familiar with those speeches.
I know. If I had to like not do law or music or anything, I think I'd just be like a doctor. Yeah, I find it very interesting, and I drive that ORCO crazy.
No, you do, but it doesn't mean that you're wrong or anything. It's just it's hard for people to step out of their comfort zone for anything, let alone food. I know that's been something I've been struggling with because I'm one of those people that eats things because they taste good, and like I don't even care what it was. Like when I went to things like when I discovered almond milk, like I just found that I preferred it. Like I just love the taste of almond milk as compared to like dairy milk. So that was an easy permanent switch for me because it just tastes better. So so kind of getting that balance is always a challenge. But I'm doing it. I'm having my smoothies and my juices. I'm doing it, and celery, and I'm doing it. I drink them real fast. I just down them,
That's right. So what do we got popping in the entertainment business today?
We got a couple things. Let's see what we got here. Let's get rid of some of this stuff. Let's get rid of that too. What do you think? All right. So Complex reported we had covered a little bit about the Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion situation. That was I think we did a video on that a couple of months ago. I believe it was like a reaction to a reaction or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, actually this was a year ago. It was August of 2020, and we were reacting to Joe Budden's podcast where he was covering this story. Now, this was when Mal and Rory were still part of the show. So we'll be sure to link that if you want to watch it, because we kind of go through, we see pictures of what happened to Megan Thee Stallion, and we go a little more of a deep dive, but this is our follow-up of what's been going on.
And that's just another thing that just goes to show how long these cases, take, when you're going through these lawsuits. I mean, we first reported on the situation a year ago, and here we are right now with the update.
Yeah, well, and remember when we had the original reaction video, they were not sure whether the police, I think LAPD, was looking and investigating. So they weren't sure whether they were going to actually bring charges. So based on the evidence and what they found, they decided to bring charges. So here we are today.
So I'm reporting on this from Complex, and the headline reads, "No plea deal for Tory Lanez reached in felony assault case involving Megan Thee Stallion. Hearing set for December." And we go on with it. Even though Tory Lanez had reportedly engaged in talks about a settlement with prosecutors, the rapper has not reached a plea deal in his felony assault case involving Megan Thee Stallion. Rolling Stone reports the 29-year-old Canadian did not reach a plea deal by the November 3rd deadline, and his defense lawyer, Sean Hawley, agreed to a December 14th preliminary hearing on behalf of her client. The hearing is expected to include 90 minutes of testimony per Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney Kathy Ta. The hearing will decide whether the case will go to trial, and as in every case, the lawyers for the parties discuss the possibility of resolving the case, said Kathy Ta. This case is no different. That said, our position as to what did and did not happen is in this matter remains unchanged. Lane's real name, Daystar Peterson. Now, that's something I didn't know. I didn't know his first name was Daystar. What a cool name.
Yeah, I know.
It has nothing to do with anything. Why
he
changed it, why he went to Tory Lanez instead of just going by Daystar. That's cool. way off topic. His real name, Daystar Peterson, allegedly shot Megan Thee Stallion in her feet following an argument during the early hours of July 12th, 2020, as you mentioned. The two had attended a Hollywood Hills party and left in an SUV, and Lanez is facing two pending charges. In September, Todd said that the rapper's defense team had engaged in meaningful discussions about reaching a plea deal. The two parties were given until November 3rd to meet a deal, with preliminary hearings to come in December. I was shot in both of my feet, and I had to get surgery to get that shit taken out, get the bullets taken out, said Megan Thee Stallion in a video shared last year. It was super scary. It was like just the worst experience of my life. Thank God the bullets didn't touch my bones. They didn't break tendons. She only revealed the identity of her shooter approximately 2 months after the incident, and he has denied the allegations. So that's where we are right now.
So when we covered this last year, we were, getting into the discussions about the fact that, Megan Thee Stallion finally got on her Instagram story, I think it was, and she just said, I wasn't planning on addressing this, because all of a sudden she was getting blowback and people were like, is she snitching? And just saying a lot of stuff about her. And she goes, you know what? I'm now hearing stuff from his PR team, and they're releasing things to the press having to do with what happened and not being truthful. And so she got on, a live stream, and she's like, no makeup. And she goes, I just got to lay it out. And that's when finally, while she was reluctant to talk about it,
that was a
and
powerful
admit
video.
what had happened. Yeah, she finally got on that live stream, and she goes, no, he shot me. And she goes, I will not basically, have you drag me through the mud, or have your team drag me through the mud. And so after that, we were talking about, all right, so will there be criminal prosecution? Because what I explained in that video is that her bringing a lawsuit is what's called a civil lawsuit. If the state brings criminal charges, that has nothing to do with her. She can't stop that process. And so I just go, it's in motion now. We'll see what happens. And we saw that they actually brought those criminal charges.
So definitely something that we're going to be following up on, because it's going to get really interesting from here on
out.
So
what's going to happen is that they're going to have that hearing now in December, and then it's likely to go to trial if there's no change from here. And so I think that's a pretty big deal, because what's on the line right now is that with those two criminal charges, he could be found liable and go, he could be in prison for up to 20 years.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So a 20-year sentence is kind of what's on the line right now. So, I'm a plea deal, right? What would it typically look like? Had he taken it, it probably would have been, an admission of guilt of some kind. Maybe he, would have to do some time. And obviously whatever was on the table wasn't good enough. And he said, nope.
Maybe he got something like, like you'd have to do 5 years. You couldn't own any guns. You can, whatever it was. And he was just like, I'm not going to jail for 2 years, let alone 5. I mean, I'm literally just speculating, but I'm just trying to think of why he wouldn't, if he's facing up to 20 years. Usually, from my viewing of TV, I always see that when these people are offered plea deals, man, I'm almost like, just take those things, get out of there. What are you doing?
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I think the charges, one was for obviously shooting her, and I think the other one was for having possession of a firearm without having the proper license, that kind of thing. So, man, I mean, I'm glad she stood up for herself, and from here we'll kind of see what happens.
Yep, for sure. Let's see what else I got. Oh yeah, this is a good one. So. Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, ended up having to pay $1 million to settle a slow shipping lawsuit. Now, this is kind of something I've been kind of keeping my eyes on, but this thing kind of finished up. It got this from ABC News. Yezzy pays nearly $1 million to settle slow shipping lawsuit. Rapper and fashion mogul Ye's high-end clothing company Yezzy has agreed to pay $950,000 to settle a lawsuit over slow shipping to customers. Rapper and fashion mogul Ye's high-end clothing company agreed to pay $950,000 to settle a lawsuit brought by 4 California district attorney over slow shipping to customers. This suit, brought last month by district attorneys of Los Angeles, Sonoma, Napa, and Alameda counties, alleged that Yezzy had engaged in false advertising about its shipping and had to violate state law by failing to send online orders within 30 days. Last month, the judge approved a request from the artist formerly known as Kanye West, who legally changed his name to Ye. He designs and sells sneakers under the Yeezy brand in collaboration with Adidas. The company also makes and sells clothes, but Adidas was not named as a defendant in the lawsuit. An email sent seeking comment from Yeezy has not been immediately returned, but the settlement included $800,000 in civil penalties to the district's attorney's office, $50,000 in restitution to the state consumer protection fund, and $100,000 in investigative costs.
100K right there. So guys, most of that went to just the state, and so basically it's like cost us $100,000 to investigate this, and then what was it, 800,000 for the other. The 50K that went into a restitution fund. That's very common for a lot of states, and so they go, for people who get harmed, they can usually seek state assistance from a restitution fund. So this is how they fill it up. They get it from situations like this, and they get someone to pay. There are funds there. Now someone can draw from it. But what happened is basically, in the state of California, they go, we have all of these rules.
Right. They have all the state laws for business. Yep.
Yeah, you gotta do right by the customer. Send the stuff when you say you're gonna send it, or if you don't,
they give you a deadline. You have to let them know, and you have to send an adequate replacement. They have it's very different in California. Like I've been having my own issues, as you know, with with clothing companies and trying to get my clothing delivered and stuff in a timely manner.
Yeah, you don't want to be a clothing company getting an angry letter from a redhead. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it's been.
But in California, they're pretty hardcore about this. So it's, if you don't have a refund policy, if you don't have a notice policy, then guess what? I guess you're going to pay $1 million. And then I guess that they also pointed out on the website, it said you could get expedited shipping and all this. And then, of course,
and they were
being complied with.
And you're paying more for that expedited shipping that you're not, so that's another thing. You're actually paying to get it there quicker, and you're still not getting your product. So it's very frustrating, especially when people are, waiting on the Yeezys.
Yeah, and that official name change, you just kind of mentioned that in the beginning, but
yeah, yay, baby, yay. I'm into it.
What do you think? You like it?
It's fine. Yay, Kanye, whatever.
Did he say why he was changing it?
I don't remember if he did. It's tough. It's tough with me. I love Kanye. Like I'm gonna be totally transparent, and Kanye is my guy. He's my guy. But I don't necessarily try to pay attention to everything that I hear, because a lot of it's too much, and I don't like to be distracted from the fact that I love Kanye's music. So I'm trying to I'm fine with it. Yay. Yay. That's cool. I don't care. P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, whatever. Artist, man.
Right.
Change it.
Or just, no name at some point, right? We've seen that.
Be Prince.
Okay. Well, hopefully the lesson's been learned, and he's not going to have to lose another $1 million on some shipping delays.
For sure. And then now it's time for the Travis Scott Astroworld tragedy update. A lot has happened since our last video on this, and there's so much to cover. I just want just dive in, because sink it in, and I'll try to keep up with you.
Yeah, so I kind of just been making notes over the last couple of days. So again, guys, we have 2 different videos. We did one where we actually went through one of the complaints that was filed, and we just showed who was getting sued, what the claims were, how these complaints kind of look. That was one video, and then we did another one just talking about what had happened. So if you want to watch those, check them out. But there's been a lot that's been happening. And for example, just today, there were personal injury attorneys, and specifically this was from Benjamin Crump's law firm, and so he's the one who had represented the family of George Floyd. And so now he's taken this on, and this is just an example of just one firm, okay? This is not everyone, but just this one firm. They announced today that they have over 200 plaintiffs, right? So 200 people who had been at this show, and they are suing, Travis Scott, Drake, Nations, but then also the Sports Convention Center for negligence, and then also gross negligence. And just in one filing, they have 99 plaintiffs. So that's, again, just to give an example of where this is going to be at. Yeah, another attorney also gave some commentary, and he goes, I think this is going to be in the billions of dollars when everything is said and done, and everyone. And, you know, a part of me is just like, obviously, I think every single person who was at this event has a claim to a degree, right? But then it escalates as someone's had been injured or crushed and fatalities. But, you know, a part of me is just wondering how chaotic is this going to get? Because we also are hearing about now this 9-year-old boy, and he was one of the plaintiffs with Benjamin Crumb's firm, and now he's in a medical coma. Yeah.
It was such a tragic story. You know, I read that, you know, he went to the show with his dad. They were in the mix, and it was really crushing. He put his son on his shoulders, and then the father just got lightheaded and was getting crushed, and he couldn't whatever. He passes out. The 9-year-old, you know, obviously falls after he passes out, and then the father wakes up eventually, and he can't find his son. His son has already been taken away and is somewhere treated. He found it at the children's hospital. Like, just the panic of passing out, waking up and looking around, and nobody realizes that was your son, like, that was taken away. They just saw some, you know, kid on the ground, and all the stuff that's coming out. We're up to 9 victims right now. Like,
So, and with that, right, so the 9th person was a 22-year-old woman, and she was formally announced as brain dead, but then she passed. And so we are 9 people into this, but there were many other people that were obviously hospitalized, had cardiac arrest. And, you know, someone had described this in a way that was visual for me. And they're like, so people would hold up their phones, right, to get video of Travis, and they didn't have the ability to even lower their arms because they were so compacted. And so now we're talking about children. And I think that the range of ages of those who the fatalities
was 14 was the youngest.
14 to 27. So we're talking, you know, there were children at this event. Obviously, it was promoted as a family-friendly event because you have the ability to buy tickets for children. And so in my mind, that heightened the need for security because you know, we have, of course, adults who are getting trampled on, but, you know, the likelihood that these children would have survived, you know, kind of goes down. And we saw that from how people were injured. So as part of that press conference that happened earlier today, they had a couple of the different plaintiffs say some words. And it was hard for them. And, you know, almost everyone just kind of broke down crying at some point because they said this was the scariest thing that they'd ever been through. And this one plaintiff, she commented, and she just goes, you know, I thought I was going to die. You're walking around and you see bodies on the ground. And she goes, there was literally only 2 places that you could get water from. There was a station at the entrance, right near the gate. And there was another station near the porta potties. And she goes, no one knew that it was there. It was so far away, you couldn't get through the crowd or whatever. So she goes, you know, we were literally just like, if there was any water anywhere, you know. And then another guy, he was just like, oh, I was wearing a sweater and I took it off. And
the water
it was like
thing
wringing it out.
The water thing is such low-hanging fruit that has been a subject of controversy at many festivals. At Coachella, it's been a controversy. Right. You know, Woodstock, it was those Woodstock fiascos, there was a controversy. This is not a new thing that you have to have water stations. I don't understand. Maybe there is some kind of law. I'm not familiar with the laws in Texas as far as this stuff goes. But they're like, I don't understand if there's, you know, 50,000 people, why there isn't at least, you know, 100 water stations. Like, why, right. or what would that require to handle? So every section, because, you know, as you could see in the chaos from the videos and stuff and the footage that we have shown, it wasn't just like this was just up front where people were having problems. It was in the front. It was a little bit back. It was in the middle. It was in the far back. You know, if you were involved in this show, you had a potential situation. So, I mean, there's just so much low-hanging fruit that just a common sense thing. Like, you know, unless these water stations were 2 water stations and they were the entire length of the crowd on either side, that's not going to get it. If it's just like a little porta potty station.
In the common sense kind of thing, Kyle made a good point. He goes, why would you bring your 9-year-old to that concert? Well, you know, why
that's neither here nor there. But that's neither here nor there.
If you think that you're going to have, you know, a normal concert going experience and you can just have your kid on your shoulders and it's going to be okay, you have no expectation that there's going to be any kind of fatality or that anyone's going to get crushed. And that goes to the event coordinators. They weren't prepared for the crowd. They weren't prepared with medical in any way. And in fact, I heard that there was kind of this timeline, this critical 30-minute timeline of when people started dropping. Okay, and we saw a couple pauses by Travis Scott, and the ambulance is coming in. And one plaintiff had said it was like the violinist on the Titanic who played while the ship sank around him. So during that 30 minutes, when people were literally dying, he kept performing. And he kept performing. And I guess with the ambulances, they had 20 units on site. And so within like 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the performance, they were already calling for more units. And they go, this is not going to be enough.
Right.
So they already knew that things were falling apart. And I kind of, I made this point. I go, Travis Scott had in-ears.
In-ears. He had an earpiece.
So he had the ability to, for people to communicate with him of what was going on. Why wasn't the front of house telling the stage what was going on? Why weren't people on the stage who could see what was happening stopping the show?
There's so much, and I'll tell you, when as more people are releasing footage and stuff, when you saw the other angle of that kid, that when Travis Scott did stop the show, when he the second time later on, security's like, help, let's let security get this guy out, and you see from the perspective of the crowd, he's looking straight at this guy who is unconscious, lifeless, just being carried out, and him going, yeah, poor choice of words, singing yeah as somebody's getting carried out. I don't think he was thinking, obviously. But he saw what was going on. He saw the chaos that was going on. And, when you said that thing about, when you were talking about he has an ear monitors, I was like, oh my God, you're absolutely, like, what are you talking about? There is zero excuse of why that was going on. There was chaos on all ends of things. We did pull, footage, and he has a history of starting, fights at his shows, and encouraging crowds to rush the stage and to rage, and encouraging fans to jump off of balconies. The shows are wild, and this stuff is catching up to him. And
yeah. So Justin had a good comment. He goes, so in your professional opinion, do you think someone's going to jail? Right. So FBI has now joined the Houston police investigation. So there is
possibility.
They're looking at it from the criminal standpoint. And so is it criminal negligence? Is someone going to jail? I mean, you better believe when it comes to the loss of life, that everyone who was involved in this is up for that investigation to see what had happened and who's going to be held responsible. Because what we're talking about right now is the civil side, right? Civil is when you have the families and the actual people who attended this event filing lawsuits, right? So it's directly from them to the people that they say hurt them. Versus when it comes with FBI and the police are involved, we're looking at potential criminal investigation, or there is a criminal investigation and criminal charges. So it's very different. That's the state that's taking action against you potentially.
Yeah, I would like to see some real changes happening, with concerts and major concerts. Like, there's none of this should have happened. All of this could have been prevented. I'm not not as to necessarily just place everything on Travis Scott, but they were aware, of previous Astroworld shows where, the police chief or met up with them beforehand, addressing their concerns from previous things. They already had people breaking through, the barricades and stuff. They had fair warning on adjustments that needed to be made. So
like, oh, this is funny. So Rich Ass Reviews, he goes, I don't want to listen to Sicko Mode with a kid next to me at all. People are doing drugs, they're growing, no earmuffs, and what you can't unseen, right? Cancel that kid's parents. I mean, look, I'm not a parent, other than, of course, being a cat parent. I'm not a parent, so I'm not going to judge anybody else. Again, from the would I take, let's say, a more PC concert like Lady Gaga, you think that you're going to have an event where things are controlled. Is it on the parents that maybe they should have known that Travis Scott puts on these shows and he's wild? And, obviously there were issues in 2019 with the festival as well, of the same kind of like people were trampeding through the gate, breaking in.
Right.
What did the parents know and how much liability is on them? Probably not a lot.
Well, no, and speaking as a parent, you know what I mean? Yes, there's some responsibility and some guilt, is on the parents, but like not like from necessarily like a legal standpoint, but I'm sure they feel guilty, enough for allowing these things. And maybe, especially the father, like I can't imagine, they were, just, he was just trying to do something. Like I've taken my kid to concerts, before, and, we've gone to, sold out packed Lupe Fiasco shows where we're in the middle. But as soon as something kind of, gets a little too much, like we go back to the soundboard. I from my mid 20s, I stopped watching shows up front. I used to do the whole stage diving. Did a lot of mosh pits and got all hardcore and all that stuff. But there was a certain point where I just wanted to I just wanted to enjoy the show, and there's no better place to hear the show than from the soundboard. That's a little known fact. Like if you're by the guy that's doing the sound, you are literally in the best place to hear the artist that you want to see. It usually can be pretty comfortable.
Yeah. But I think at this event,
I think some responsibility, I was gonna say, while I do think some responsibility does fall on the parent, this was an all ages event, and right. It doesn't matter if they were 9, if they were 90. Nobody expects to go to a concert and die or get crushed. They expect to get in there and there'd be security there to protect them against people that are out of line. They expect to be medical services if somebody passes out. Like there's an expectation when you go that you're not going to die. You might get hurt if you put yourself in harm's way, but at a certain point you would like to think, like, at what would it have taken for them to stop the show? If like there was gunfire in the air, would that have stopped the show? If they literally saw that, like, they're getting reports that people are just walking around with knives, stabbing people, would that have stopped the show? Like, what would have taken to stop the show? Because you were seeing bodies coming out, you were seeing bodies getting dropped on their head when they were being rescued by security.
But even in the whole, like, someone walking around and stabbing people. Okay, let's talk about that. There were reports of forcible injections with fentanyl. We ended up opioids.
But that security guard ended up recanting his story and saying.
And as far as I know, that security guard is the only verified instance of saying I was injected with fentanyl, and there may be other cases, because we've heard there may be other cases, but he did recant. And did he say why? Was he just doing drugs and got caught or something?
Yeah. No, I was just like, yeah, he maybe he took some drugs out in the crowd hanging, because one of the terrible things that I saw too was also, a police officers that were sitting there with their phones filming Travis Scott up at the front when all this chaos was going on. There was a lot of stuff that was happening that, and I wonder, like we saw with the Capitol 6 riots, that happened, in DC, as soon as that thing happened, there's all this video footage, and if you see like these people dancing on this ambulance right now, there's video footage. We could see their face. Those people should be arrested. I think anybody that interfered and was shaking that ambulance car, or dancing on the ambulance car, or any of these people just, whatever, that are on tape doing these things should be held accountable. Like, you're on tape. And it's just a tragedy. And I get worked up every time I talk.
I know. I get it. Well, hey, let's touch on at least one more thing with BetterHelp. Right, so we've kind of seen this come up. Right. So Travis Scott had said, hey, I understand that there's some, emotional trauma that has happened, and so I want to pay for you guys to get some help through BetterHelp. There's been a little bit of pushback, and people just being like, is this BetterHelp just trying to get free press and be like, hey, we're the superheroes, they're going to help, and now we're going to get people who are going to be lifetime subscribers and this and that. And, I guess BetterHelp did put out a statement when some of those challenges came up and was like, is Travis Scott getting any kind of kickback? Because now you have all this information you're going to sell to third parties. And BetterHelp said, no, that's not the case. Now, my feeling on it doesn't feel that great as far as BetterHelp, and it does feel kind of like a PR move, and maybe they're just, but at the end of the day, I think these people actually do need help, and they do need to talk to someone. So I'm glad for that.
I actually have a different point of view on that, because, while it's natural to kind of take that cynical kind of approach with it, and there's always going to be that knee-jerk reaction, as long as these kids are having somebody to talk to, and I can personally vouch for the BetterHelp services. I think they're a great company as far as the help that you can receive from people. So, and I'm one of these people that believes that everybody needs a little therapy every now and again. So I can't imagine going through this tragic event and the families. It's good at least that they have this option to do things for whatever the reason, however they got there. They're going to be able to talk to people, and maybe even just introducing them to the whole idea of getting some kind of personal therapy, and working through other problems that maybe aren't just Astroworld. So maybe there's a little kickback or whatever, but I don't know. I'm just glad that now services are being offered to 50,000 people that may need them. So that's my kind of feeling. I try to look at a little bit of the good in it, but there's a couple other comments in here that I saw that this would have never happened at a metal or punk show because the crowd takes care of each other and the band stopped the show. Yes and no. I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that it was a rap show. I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that it was a metal show. I mean, you look at that Great White concert where all those people died in an inferno. I've been in, when my first Deftone show, there was a riot and tear gas. Where people, whatever. I still have a scar from that show. You have the Metallica Guns N' Roses fiasco when James Hetfield, with the flames and the pyrotechnics and he caught on fire, and Guns N' Roses played a couple songs and they walked off and they tore that arena apart. The cops had to come in with tear gas.
Well, and some people were saying that they couldn't possibly stop the show because it would have caused everyone to riot. And my response to that is, if you said we're stopping and the show is over, that's one thing versus people stop shows all the time. They'll be like, hey guys, it's drizzling some rain, let's take 10 minutes, let's take 20 minutes,
let's breathe, let's get everybody, hey guys, let's just everybody look around and let's just take a step away from everybody slowly. Let's give everybody some air. I'm gonna go check something back. I'll be back in 10 minutes. And then when he comes back, he doesn't go hype. He slowly brings them in and brings the energy back in a more controlled way. There's ways of doing things. This is a Travis Scott Astroworld incident. This is not a rap concert incident. This is not a metal concert incident. This is a Travis Scott Astroworld in Houston, 50,000 people. There's a lot of low hanging fruit of things that need to be taken care of. So I don't want to blanketly say this happens at rap shows or this happens at
I think that by looking also on a more fundamental level, right? Because Live Nation is involved with this, but who is involved in implementing policies, right? That's going to be a big thing that comes up here. So for every show, when you have a show, you need to have all kinds of plans and contingencies in place. If there's a flood, if it rains, if there's an emergency, if we need to get people out. And so this is what the event organizers are required to deliver. And so it seems that what's coming out now is that they did have these policies in place, but number one, they didn't follow them when the actual emergency started coming up. But then number two, I was reading something about how, the people who had passed away, that, the dead bodies, essentially, they're being referred to as Smurfs. And in a release that went to the staff there. So
I didn't like that. That could have been a nice code 7, code 8. We have a 62 in progress. I don't. Maybe Smurf stands for something. I don't know, but that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. Whoever came up with that was you could have literally said we have code 5, and that would have had the same amount of effect as calling. There's so much stuff, and it's going to keep coming out. This is going to be something that goes on for a long time because, as you were saying earlier, there's some that are predicting the damages to be in the billions. The insurance for the show, because you mentioned another podcast how you have to have insurance for all these events and stuff. It doesn't even come close to covering the stuff that's happened already. So
and guys, through my law firm, for example, when we have insurance issues and we're the damaged side, we have to go and see what the policy limit is, because if you get an insurance policy, that insurance policy might, let's say, be for $20 million. But if your claims from all the people who were harmed far exceeds that, the insurance company says, hey, we reached our limit, we'll pay out this much. And then now we're getting to the actual people and their pockets. We're going after Live Nation personally. We're going after Travis Scott. We're going after Drake. So that's probably what's going to happen, to the extent that this is, let's say, in the billions of dollars by the end of it. The insurance policy is probably not going to cover that much.
Yeah, so we'll see who claim when all the bankruptcies start coming in and whatever. But there's definitely got to be some accountability, some real accountability, and not that I'm out for blood necessarily, but like I said, the kids that are jumping on these things or anybody that prevented or hindered the ambulances from getting through if they're on tape, any of these kids that are seen, contributing to the actions that went on that night, the police officers and security guards who were not doing their job, who were filming the show because they wanted to be up close and get that Travis Scott stuff. All of these people need to be held accountable. For me.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah,
because
and guys,
that's their whole job. And if you can't even trust the police or security as they're there, then I don't know. Maybe we don't start going to Live Nation shows anymore. I don't know. Like there needs to be a change. There needs to be a direct change to prove a point. So these 9 people now, 9, and this 9-year-old in a coma, it wasn't for nothing.
Yeah. So guys, make sure you subscribe to this channel because we're going to be tracking this as new lawsuits are obviously being filed every second. We're going to be covering more of the lawsuits, more of the updates, more of what's going to happen. So be sure to subscribe. And yeah, I appreciate you giving us these stories today, that ORCO. There's so much that happens, but this is why we do the weekly live.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, like I said, I just look forward to seeing what's happening next. And I appreciate all those. I appreciate all the comments that I'm seeing in there. I can tell that there's a lot of people that also feel pretty passionate about what's going on, and just let that know when you do start going to shows as things opened up, and you know what I mean. And we are going to more shows now, and more of these festivals and stuff. Let's everybody just really take care of the people that are around us, making sure that people are safe. If you see something, say something. In regards to these things, and just hopefully people will just we will grow from this, and we will be able to make things safer, because people want to go to a concert, have a good time.
Yes,
2020 was very difficult. 2021 is difficult as well. We still have not come back to any kind of real state of normalcy and peace within our community and the music community and stuff. So I just wanted to say that I look forward to the future being safer.
Very nice. Thank you for joining us, that ORCO.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So I appreciate you being here today. Another reminder. So next Friday, we will do that Black Friday sale. It's going to be 50% off the book. Boom. You'll be able to get this bad boy, $15, all the contracts to help protect you in your music career, help you build a music business. I guide you through it all. I'm talking about live shows and copyrights and trademarks. And so I'm excited to be doing this 50% off Friday, Black Friday. I appreciate you guys being here. Come say hi. You can follow me on Miss Krystle Live for more of my music creative stuff that I do, but on Redhead Attorney if you want to follow more of the law stuff. We're going to get out of here, but we will see you next week. I'm top music attorney, Miss Krystle, and we'll see you then. Bye, guys.